Deja vu for Hikaru Nakamura as he defends his title over Vishy Anand in the rapid tiebreak portion. Speaking of rapid events, the GCT announces that its 2 additional legs of 2016 will be rapid tournaments in Europe. And back to the US, we take a look at the strongest US chess championship ever with 3 players inside the live top 10. A long time ago in the galaxy far, far away, they didn't have ChessCenter. That's why they got bored and invented lightsabers. On Chess.com and certainly on ChessCenter, we have no issues admitting when we're wrong, or at least we have no issues admitting when Sean is wrong, and that is exactly what we're going to do right now as we review what happened at the Zurich Chess Challenge, where Vishy Anand turned things around after the Tradewise Gibraltar Chess Festival. Here, of course, he is pictured shaking hands with billionaire Oleg Skvortsov, the founder behind the event. And Vishy was all smiles for good reasons. Sean, why do you think he was able to surprise us and play so well in Zurich?
Yeah, I was completely shocked. I expected him to do poorly because when we've seen him sit on opening preparation before, he's performed badly. But in this case, I think that the rapid time control helped him out. I think he found his groove, and I think he was hungry after those losses in Gibraltar. It's always a question with Vishy whether he'll show up as the tiger or as the kitten, and he certainly brought the tiger to this one.
Yeah, well, the kitty is in the cage and left at home. The tiger from Madrid showed up in full force, and for that, we tip our hat to him. He surprised us last week with struggles in an open format, back to his old tricks in the closed format. We'll see what kind of momentum he carries with him into the candidates. But before we let you go on all things Zurich, we are now going to flip to Mike Klein for featured news, who brings us the final update of what happened in all the blitz tiebreak games between Hikaru Nakamura and Vishy, as well as some fun footage from the after party. Enjoy this featured news segment from Mike Klein.
Well, we are here live at the after party of the 5th annual Zurich Chess Challenge, and as you can see, the revelry has begun. People have loosened their collars, and let's take you around the room and show you some people that are here. We've got our winner over here, Hikaru Nakamura. Hikaru, say hi to the camera. His stepfather, Sunil. Journalist extraordinaire, Ian and Kathy Rogers. And we'll walk further down the room. Let me fill you in on what happened today. The tournament was tied with Anand and Nakamura going into the blitz section, and at the last minute, Nakamura was able to win his 5th and final blitz game. That ended up equaling Anand, and by one Sonnenberg-Berger tiebreak point, Nakamura was declared the champion. Now, as you recall, in 2015, pretty much the exact same scenario panned out, and Anand and Nakamura agreed to play a final blitz game. There was no blitz this year. They decided to just end it with Sonnenberg-Berger, and that was the final. So there you have it, Danny, live from the 2016 Zurich Chess Challenge. We've got some big news I want to fill you in on. The 2017 tournament will be split between Zurich and Moscow. That was just announced by tournament sponsor Oleg Skvortsov right here at the closing ceremony. And now back to you in the studio, Danny.
The Zurich Chess Challenge just came to a close, Robert, so fittingly so. Both our move and blunder come to us courtesy of that event this week. Of course, it was won by Hikaru Nakamura, but this game, won by Vladimir Kramnik, gets our nod for the best move of that event. Now, it seemed like maybe the game was petering out to equality when Geary played the move King F8, removes the king from clear and present danger on the e-file, and guards the bishop on g7. But Harrison Ford said clear and present danger, that was a PG-rated film. But this is rated R on the chessboard, my friend. What did Vladimir Kramnik play here to make things even scarier for black?
Doing his best muscle man Harrison Ford interpretation, Danny, he went pawn to d5. He's opening up the dark square bishop, hitting that bishop on g7. Geary wanted none of it, so he went e5, thinking he's going to protect his king side. But now after rook c1, if you look at that c-file, there's a battering ram along the c-files, Simon Williams would say. Bishop f6, Geary found nothing better to do, and after queen f5, Geary simply retreated back to g7. But here come the tactics. After d takes c6, bishop takes c6, Kramnik retreated his queen to c2, trying to line up the pressure on the c-file once more. After queen e6, Kramnik realized his mistake and moved his queen back to f5. It's important for all you out there that even if you realize you made a mistake, it's not too late to fix it. Go for it even if it looks dumb. Queen back to d6, and now bishop to a2, threatening rook takes c6, followed by queen f7 checkmate. So Geary did all that he could here with bishop to e8, but here Kramnik threw in queen takes c8, sacrificing the queen for two rooks. And after rook takes c8, Danny, and the white rook's in the last rank, it's all downhill for Anish Geary.
Yeah, and probably we could have even jumped to queen takes c8 in the beginning because it was brilliant enough to maybe be move of the week. But because d5 was so pretty and such a shocker, we had to start there. Let's see how Kramnik finished things off on queen to d2. He said, no defense needed for me. Rook 1 to c7, exposing the pinned bishop. After queen takes b2, all was lost very quickly. The move bishop to d5 shows multiple ways that black king might meet the end, including maybe a doubled up on the 7th rank. Back a few moves just to remind everybody that critical point Robert made about being willing to admit when you made a mistake might have been another turning point. Maybe queen f5 was the move of the week, because you have to recognize your opportunities, even if it means playing a little bit of tickle sometimes. Black couldn't trade, of course, because that would remove the rook from the c-file and eventually lose the bishop. So the tactics we saw ensue were pretty much forced and brilliantly displayed with queen takes c8. Kramnik gets our move of the week. Had a pretty good Zurich Chess challenge, but don't feel too bad for Anish. He's going to see us again in the blunder side of things in just a few minutes. The antics you're about to see that took place in this week's Social Channel Chatter video are not condoned by Chess.com. Of course, they're well known from movies such as The Hustler, The Color of Money. And before we show you what we're talking about, let me ask you, Sean, have you ever been hustled, or at least maybe gotten midway through a game against somebody only to realize maybe they're a little bit out of your league?
It's more often the opposite. I did start playing a game with someone whose first move was pawn b to a3.
Okay, well, I mean, we all love games like that, right? And in this video, what we're going to see as I press play now, a hustler in Washington Square Park doesn't know that he's sitting across from Grandmaster Maurice Ashley until we see these rapid-fire moves as Maurice puts on his Grandmaster technique. The last move's pretty flawlessly showing that Maurice is in complete control.
What's going on now?
We're going to watch the video end here because some of the conversation gets funny, and in the end it does go well as the unsuspecting man realizes who he's playing. But Sean, what was your reaction when you saw this video?
Oh, man, I died laughing watching this. It's crazy. This guy thinks he's got a mark, but he is the mark. And in just a second, we're going to see him reach out to GM Maurice Ashley and ask him who he is.
What is your name? You didn't tell me your name.
What is your name?
Ashley.
And then look on his face. Maurice Ashley. Then he stands up. And it's funny because he almost gets the feeling that all of his friends are in on it, right? That they all knew who he was the whole time. And this guy was too focused on taking advantage of his mark to see the forest through the trees. But you've got to give Maurice credit. A very entertaining video, racking up the views on YouTube and Vimeo. If you can find either link, we encourage you to check it out. The beginning of the video has some really exciting trash talk, right?
Yes, it does. And the way that GM Maurice Ashley kind of deflects the trash talk and puts it back on his opponent is just as skillful as his play.
Yeah, and maybe his opponent should have recognized what was going on then. Either way, it was fun to watch. We hope you check out the video. And that's our Social Channel Chatter for this week. Not more than 24 hours off the boat, and from bumping into people at dinner parties, we welcome back FIDE Master Mike Klein to the States. Mike, I understand there is some chess that happened this week outside of Switzerland. What are the major stories you have for us?
Yeah, I'm a little jet lagged. Let's get right to it. In Iran, the FIDE Women's Grand Prix is taking place in the capital. 12 of the best women in the world are playing in Tehran. And after 5 rounds with an undefeated score of 4 out of 5, Natalia Poganina leads the field. Although one big caveat, she has yet to play the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th place women, all of whom are solidly above 2,500. Those would be Grandmasters Nana Zaganidze, Humpy Kineru, and Shui Xiao. So a lot still to play for in Tehran.
Will be exciting as we see those ladies duke it out for first. Now, I understand that Norway Chess is trying to one-up the U.S. Chess Championship this year. How is that going to happen?
Yeah, you could say that. Norway Chess and the U.S. Chess Championship directly conflict almost every single day. Both fields will be having their games. Now, Norway Chess only has 6 of their 10 players confirmed, but those are a big couple of names there. We've got Carlsen, we've got Kramnik, we've got Topalov, all current or former world champions. We've also got Aronian and Giri, both hoping to become a world champion should they win the candidates tournament in Moscow. And Maxime Vachier-Lagrave, probably the best player not to be playing in the candidates tournament next month. So Norway is going to be big, even though the U.S. Championship takes place at the same time.
Yeah, and the reason why a list of household names that aren't there, being Wesley So, Hikaru Nakamura, and Fabiano Caruana, are not playing is because, as you said, it directly conflicts. And what are the major storylines that should be happening in St. Louis this April?
Well, besides those three that are playing, and of course Nakamura is trying to inch his way up the lifetime U.S. Championships ladder. He is the defending champion, by the way. We've got four big names that were left out. Those would be Alejandro Ramirez. Remember, he played Kamsky in a finals playoff not more than a couple years ago. Timur Gariev, who's played every year since transferring to the U.S. Chess Federation. Yaroslav Zherobuk, who just transferred to the U.S. but with a supremely high rating. I thought he'd get in. And the biggest name I think that's not going to be in is Daniel Naroditsky. He needed to get in to win the U.S. Championship to have a chance to get one of the automatic qualifiers to the U.S. Olympiad team, but that doesn't look like that will happen. So we've got a bunch of big names in, but equally large number of names that are left out. And let's not forget the dark horse, Alexander Shabalov. He said he was going to get in by winning the U.S. Open. He did just that. So we're going to see if Shabalov is able to make a little run here and win another U.S. title.
One more time for the Latvian stallion, I hope. And I agree, it is sad to not see Naroditsky there. Of course, we love his articles on Chess.com. And interesting that there are a few wild cards that got in ahead of him despite his higher rating. I guess that's how the cards are played sometimes. But Mike, either way, we thank you for bringing us these updates. Thank you for being all over the place this week on ChessCenter. And I will see you in time trouble.
Thanks. And when we get to those U.S. Championships, I'll be there live as always. We'll see you later on, Danny.
Well, Robert, we promised the fans they wouldn't have to feel too bad for Anish Giri for very long. In fact, he was the recipient of a 16-point blunder if you keep score with the engines when Alexei Shirov played the move king to c3 here instead of king to e3. Now, before we get into the specifics of why it's such a huge blunder, we can say that we probably haven't seen a swing that big since Mamad Yarov went soul-searching for his rook at Wyk and Z. But Robert, please explain to everybody why this game ended so quickly after Shirov's horrific blunder.
Danny, Shirov loves fire on board, but here he doused himself with water and gave Anish Giri a hose. And after king c3, queen b2 check, well, if you go king d3, queen takes b3 check, wins the queen over on h3. So he had to go king to b4, and after queen d2 check, you're either getting checkmated next move after king b5, queen to a5 checkmate, or you have to trade the queens on c3 and you're just down a piece. So instead of all this, king c3, a terrible move, of course, and king to e3, Giri would have had to play queen takes b3 check, bishop d3, queen b6, the only check on the board, and now after pawn to c5, which is not the easiest move to see in blitz, queen takes c5 check, king e2, checks have run out. Alexei Shirov is completely winning after queen h8 check next move, a mating attack, and it would have been all over.
Yeah, and you know, it's possible we could excuse Shirov for missing a subtlety in his calculation of c5. It is kind of a key point, as the viewers saw. I accidentally moved the king to e2 first, but I'll explain why that didn't work, because here Giri would have been able to play queen to b2 check and get at least a perpetual. But c5, one, not really super GM worthy of missing, and two, even if you did see a perpetual, it's still certainly better than putting your king on c3 and walking into the bucket of water, as you said. Shirov's fire on board was put out in a nasty way. Giri, you get the gift of the week if we had such a reward, and we will see you both on future Chess Centers, I'm sure. And for our looking ahead segment this week, of course, we were going to discuss whether or not the Zurich time control, these rapid hybrid type of events, are going to become more the norm in the future. But we have to stop and ask Sean. Well, I guess I should know that you were going to do it on air. Sean's eating the pizza that I owed him, of course, for winning our little bet, Team Danny versus Team Sean. How's the pizza taste, buddy?
Oh, God, it tastes like sweet victory.
It does taste like sweet victory. I bet it does. And to get it back to the chess here, I congratulate Sean, even though his pick to win it all finished about 5th. And I say only a fool picks against Hikaru Nakamura to win a rapid event. But somehow his team did take down my team. His team, of course, consisting of Levon Aronian, Vladimir Kronmik, and Vishy Anand. My Hikaru Nakamura, Anish Giri, and Alexei Shirov team going down. But let's talk chess, Sean. This time control is really exciting to watch, and I don't think that the founder behind the event is that married to the idea of classical 7-hour chess matches, right? He's been on the record saying that he sees rapid chess as just more exciting, and the quality of the games to him is high enough to want to promote his event to be that way. And now with the GCT announcing 2 events to its tour, the Grand Chess Tour, both of those being rapids, is this the future? Are we seeing more and more rapid play?
Yeah, I think that there's no way that you can turn your back on the marketability of these shorter games, of the 40-minute games, of the hour games, or the 30-minute games. They're just too easily packaged. They're nice to watch. And the good thing about it is that it seems to me like the grandmasters who are good and are winning, that they are winning in this time format as well. So there's not as big as a payoff if you're a blitz specialist as if it were like a 10-minute or 5-minute game. So I see this could definitely hold a place in the future. But personally, I love the older time control. I love the long time control. And I think the quality of games are just excellent. So I hope they don't all switch this way. But, it's kind of like pepperoni pizza. It's good to have, but I still want meat lovers,
Right. No, that reference didn't make any sense for this, but everything else you said I think was right on, and I do agree that the Blitz tournaments are more attractive to some of the specialists, but the rapid play is still enough like classical chess that there's that middle ground that is still very interesting and not 7 hours, right? I like it because I got things to do on the weekends, and now I get to watch just long enough to see someone blunder under time pressure, and I loves me a good car wreck on the board. So I am excited to see what happens with major events as things like this make chess more and more popular, more marketable. And we look ahead to the future, and we eagerly await more events like this to be announced.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you over my chewing.
Oh. No rest for the weary. FIDE master Mike Klein, he's eyeing a nap, and right now we're eyeing him across the screen for time trouble. It's a battle of wits. You ready, my friend?
I'm the awake master. Let's go.
All right, the clock starts ticking, and I start asking, will the Pono Pons Blitz Deathmatch on March 14th be two of the most interesting characters we've ever had in one match?
Yes, we asked them both to nominate a song they would force their opponent to listen to for 3 hours. Vallejo said, "Happy birthday." The Ukrainian wanted the Spaniard to listen to "No Surprises" by Radiohead. An idea for our next death match. Millionaire Chess just announced that it's halving its prize fund to $500,000. Should we call it Half Millionaire Chess?
I thought they already had a name for an event like this called the HB Global. Third question makes it right that we ask, will the three top GMs leading the way in the U.S. Championship turn this event into the strongest national championship of its kind?
By rating, it's by far the strongest, but by name, not so fast. The Russian Super Final, that's much more awesome. U.S. Championship, you got to up your naming game. Now, this past week, we also had a tournament that was supposed to take place on 2 continents, on South America and Antarctica, with Yifan, but the Antarctic portion was canceled by high winds. Is that a good reason to skip an event?
Never a good reason to stop chess. Throw on a parka, Yifan, and keep it going. Speaking of keeping the party going, this weekend saw tons of people gather, GMs and amateurs alike, for all the U.S. amateur team events with costumes and funny names. Makes me think that President's Day weekend is the most fun weekend for chess in the U.S. Am I right about that?
Yeah, it's absolutely true. You play with your teammates, and even if you don't win the event, you can get a prize for best dressed or even best team name. Basically, Danny, people like me have a chance. Now, in my exclusive interview with Oleg Skvortsov this week that's on chess.com/news, he told me he wants the 60+30 time control to be classically rated. He's going to bring this idea to FIDE next month. Does he have a chance?
Well, why not, right? The guy's about to put a lot of money into chess for one little request of making a time control classically rated. Come on, FIDE. Do the smart thing. And Mike, you did the right thing by ChessCenter fans by sticking it out for time trouble. We thank you, and we will see you next week.
Anything for the fans. Thanks, Danny.